What's up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome to today's market analysis or trade recap session. Today is Tuesday, May the 3rd, 2025, and we took one good trade here today and we secured it as a W. So let's go over the overall context of the market that made us take this nice trade here today, and we'll talk about the factors that were behind this trade as well. So let's get straight into this. So to get started, I do want to say that today we did have news at 9 a.m. CST, which was US JOLTS and factory orders MOM. So we honestly were unlikely to find a setup until after 9, but our eyes are open nonetheless. But regarding the overall context, if you take a look on the 30-minute, right, with the volume profile as well, but I'll get into that later. We see that from yesterday, we broke above and over this area. And you may be wondering, why is this area so significant? Well, this area is significant because that was the point of volume. That was a high volume area that had got broken towards the upside. Because that upside breakage occurred, that showed us that we should be able to continue heading towards the upside up till this zone, because this zone was an area where there was volume as well. And I'll go ahead and show that to you guys from where we saw at that point. I think potentially now we can't see here. We have to go on a higher time frame. If we extend it like such, you simply see that at this 3-hour-ish location, that is where we had high volume. And from that point, we broke above it in the previous day. Now we retraced back to it. So we're looking at how we react. And after market open, we started heading towards the upside, which showed to me that we're likely going to have a bullish bias for the day. Although we do have these zones are located in a low volume node, and unless they align with what we're seeing on order flow, they are not significant. They're just another tool in the toolbox. But that's essentially the overall context. Once again, these are all the levels. If you do want to take a look again, it's just the lows of a variety of different ranges and different zones within the market. But there's that. Now let's go ahead and check how NQ looks as well in terms of higher time frame context. We see that it's essentially going to be the same thing as we saw here on ES. We broke above this high volume area right here yesterday. Now we retraced back into that area. We're seeking reaction from this area. And simply because we started to move towards the upside and market open demonstrated that as well, we have a bullish bias, potentially even looking for price to head towards this upper zone as well, because that area had a large amount of volume. So essentially going to be very similar to what we saw here on ES. But now let's get into our structured analysis from the whole market session. So let's take a look. So right at market open, shout out to Live Alex with Think with Bookmap. Great resource. I highly recommend you guys to check out. The link is in the description down below. If you take a look at what happened right at market open, we see that price essentially pumped up, came back down, and now we're back here just chilling. What we see is that there's a target at the upside. That's going to be our most significant target here at 5955. And if any setup were to occur, we want to see movement towards the upside, retracement into a barrier, notice absorption on footprint, and then continue targeting that target. But as you can see, nothing of that sort, because opposing barriers kept imposing themselves, which prevented price from continuing high. But then aggressive buying came in right around 943-ish that broke through it, which honestly we could not have predicted using our strategy simply because there's no order flow insight at that area. I'll take a look here on footprint as well. We're simply just seeing that at that 840 time, large amount of buyers came in aggressively, and here potentially we had seller absorption, but to confirm that, we like to use barriers, which we did not see. But if we keep moving forward, we see that eventually we start constricting ourselves between barriers, and we have this overall very choppy movement. We are unable to get to this one target above that we're seeking simply because opposing barriers keep moving down that are not allowing price to continue higher. And that's why early in the market session, price action looked like this. And this was pretty choppy and no setups really occurred. Same NQ looks essentially the same. Now, if we continue moving forward, now here at that 10 a.m. time where you see liquidity clearing up, that's all around that JOLTS time frame, the JOLTS news release and the UOM release, I believe, or MOM month-on-month release at 9 a.m. So liquidity cleared up, 5-minute interval. We cannot trade until after this point. So none of this is significant. And as you can see, no liquidity for us to play with regarding retracement or a reversal model. But now, suddenly, price just reverses from that point. No order flow inside there as well. Right around 9:05-ish. Just right here. And I mean, potentially you could have considered something here, but honestly, nothing significant that I would have personally saw or found an edge with in order flow in this random location that would have symbolized a moment for a flush down. Right after that flush down, we started seeing movement back up, in which we finally started digging into this upper target like we wanted it to. Now, then again, no setups here at all. We're trading between two barriers of close proximity. And as we're moving up, this is moving up as well, which is pretty bullish. So I want to see a retracement down to a lower barrier in which potentially we can find an entry. Now this right here doesn't look bad at all. Potentially we could have found an entry here. And I do want to see how price is reacting here. I want to see a clear reaction, and at this moment we did not see a clear reaction, and we kept digging further and further into that lower supporting barrier with aggressive selling. And as you can see, those sellers did dig into that support to a decent extent. Now, as we keep moving forward, our opposing barriers are moving down, indicating potential bearish momentum that prevents price to move higher. But eventually we do continue towards the upside. And now here there's no setup because what are we going to do there to target this high? Nothing. There's really no setup at any of these locations. And now we finally break through. That puts us at around 9:54 a.m. So that puts us all the way until literally around here. And in this whole time frame, no setups were presented. So we had to stay within 1 to 1.5 hours just sitting, doing nothing, which is part of the game. But I would have loved to see something earlier. Unfortunately, the market simply did not present that then. But as we kept going, and as we kept showing bullish momentum, we broke through these zones, pushed through Bookmap liquidity. Lower liquidity did not even get close to. And then we just continued heading towards the upside. As you can see here, there is further liquidity here and here. So I'm just looking to see if there's anything that we can play off at this point, because honestly, I'm not seeing much. I'm just seeing that potential target here at 5950, target at 5970 potentially, and liquidity right here. So I want to see how price reacts, and we do. And what happens is we do seem to break out of that liquidity. So now what I'm noticing finally is that price has broken through. We made a retracement, and now as you'll see soon, just wait. As you see here, price came down to this barrier and started to show reaction. And you can see that reaction pretty clearly by looking at Bookmap, but you can also understand the significance by looking on Footprint as well, right at that time, which although it's kind of difficult to see here, what you can see is that this candle right here, this is a 5-minute candle. On the 1-minute candles, you will be able to see this more. But as we were coming down to the same time as this barrier here, we started seeing a large amount of selling come in near this bottom that was unable to push through. And now buyers have started to come in. We can see that buying aggression come in. So we saw that absorption. And that absorption provided additional confluence for us to enter and target above. So essentially, that was the reasoning for this trade right here. After a long time with the bullish bias, simply because of the higher time frame analysis coupled with the distribution of barriers here on Bookmap, we saw price break through this barrier. We have targets towards the upside defended by this, so we are defending a move lower, so we're supporting a move higher, which means that because we retraced this liquidity, saw absorption here, clearly made a reaction, we have enough confirmation that price may want to head here or potentially even here. So that's what I was looking for. I took a trade 5965, right around 5961.75. So right here, literally, when we saw that clear reaction. And our first TP was going to be 5965. And our main TP was going to be 5970, because if he entered here, the target would only be a bit over a 1-to-1 risk to reward. But then again, it's a good setup. And this will only capture us only around 10 to 15 ticks as well. So if this barrier or target did not get broken through with strength, we will cut the trade there and take a decent 5 to 15 ticks profit. But if we can break through this aggressively and we're seeing continual support, then you can move stop up with price and continue to target this area. And as you will go on to see, price broke through this barrier with strength. If I put it in 2x, you can see how quickly we actually broke through this area. Within around, I would say, 10 to 20 seconds, we broke through this with a large buyer aggression, as you can see there. We saw no reaction and no absorption at the area right around 10 a.m. And then from that point onwards, buyers come in with incredible aggression, taking us all the way up to our target. Now, as you can see, I did mark this down here. I put my OG take profit up there, but I took profit early, and you may be wondering why I did such. Well, we estimate that liquidity is at 0.70, as you can see here. But price may expand liquidity lower, and you might see absorption before that is taken to head lower. So you really want to take profit right when we tap into that liquidity. And we saw that price was tapping into this liquidity here. So we did not want to risk getting essentially TP edged. So we just took the profit for 3 ticks less, and we succeeded with a nice 2.6 risk to reward ratio, only risking 10 ticks, had very simple confluences, simple retracement to a barrier with absorption, with clear targets towards the upside, and clear continuation confirmation as well. As we moved up, these barriers started heading up as well. Pretty bullish. And that was essentially it for that trade. Now, if you keep moving forward, there isn't really any other setups because here we're just between two barriers again. Now we break above. Now there is a target of 5980, but now we're between two barriers once again. And that is where 1030 is, so that is where our day ends. So the only setup really that I noticed personally is this one right here, and we were actually able to execute off of that. The rest of the day, no setups that really would have worked if we were disciplined. And today we were. So that is the overall context of the market here today, with a live order flow rundown alongside context that allowed me to make this trade here today. That's honestly all I got here for this video. If you want to learn how to take advantage of footprint charts like this to start practicing for completely free even, you can go ahead and use the link in the description down below to download Addis Charts, our official partner. And when you use Addis for free, you can access all of this with just a 15-minute delay. So when you're backtesting your trades without a footprint by using potentially the Bookmap live stream, which is also in the link in the description down below, you can backtest or analyze using that delayed footprint, which can help you get used to footprint, which can later add an edge when you purchase real-time information. But as always, no financial advice and do your own research. But if you have any questions other than that, feel free to join the Discord. The link is in the description down below. Everything is completely free and you may gain a thing or two out of it. Or you may also leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to answer your questions there as well. But other than that, I don't have much more to say, except that I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next market analysis session. And I'll see you guys then, but I do apologize for not getting the pre-day analysis out. I've been very busy with other conflictions within my schedule and other priorities. So this week and potentially even next week may be difficult to get these pre-day analyses out, but we should get back onto track after this week. So just keep that in mind, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next market analysis session. Bye.